Hello, one and all, and welcome to a new year and a new edition of Top Deck Thoughts. Now, for the record, you might have saw in a previous Top Deck Thoughts, I do owe an apology. I did took that one down, mostly because I felt the audio quality was, if I'm being honest, was a teeny off, and there was some additional stuff I wanted to actually put into the Top Deck Thoughts before we get started with the whole end of the week with Kaldhiem spoiler season starting and such. So I thought I would pretty much make this new video with the better audio, slash also add a few new things regarding to Kaldhiem and just updates on the channel and such. So let's get started. First, the updates on the channel. One, as you know, we actually are over 100 subscribers, which is lovely. Thank you for all who supported and actually who followed the channel. I did a few giveaways. One that is still currently running at the moment is actually one that's going to end on the spoiler season at the night of the spoiler season start, which is January 7th for the record, which is giving away of a set booster. If you want to enter, I do actually have a thread that I'm going to link down below. Mostly the way you enter is you actually follow, specifically subscribe to content creators that I thought would be nice to get an extra boost in attention and such, and there are some lovely content creators that I think you should go and check out. Like, you can see all of them are great, trust me, they're really good. Next up, also with Twitch, we actually now reached affiliate status, which is lovely. And we did that actually due to the factor that we decided to participate in the Oathbreaking from 2020 New Year's event. Now, this was a charity fundraiser event, and the fundraiser event was us playing essentially Oathbreaker with a variety of content creators and personalities within the Magic Gathering community. We raised money for Magic Kids, which, if you don't know what Magic Kids is a non-profit organization that essentially makes kind of like learning kits, learning packets for people who are trying to learn Magic and such that can help assist a variety of clubs around the country and such. It's a great organization. They do a lot of support. They also love the Oathbreaker format, so that's what allowed me to give a shot at it. Now, for those who don't know what Oathbreaker is, the basic premise is, think of it as Brawl, but you know, kind of like how Brawl has that ability where you essentially can use a Planeswalker as a commander? Well, in Oathbreaker, your Planeswalker is your commander, and you have both a Planeswalker, like for example, one I played over the weekend was a Johnny the Greathearted, but you also get a signature spell that you can cast as long as you do have the Oathbreaker in play. So, like for example, you can play a Chroma's Will. Which, by the way, I would actually recommend people giving a shot to the format. It's kind of giving my heart recommendation, mostly because Commander Legends, surprisingly, while great support for Commander, actually was surprisingly supportive for Oathbreaker. Like, the vowels are really good, the wills are insane in the format, like, Jessica's will is just insane. Plus, of course, the new Planeswalkers we got from Commander Legends. There's actually a lot of new and old tools from Commander Legends that can actually probably bring a little bit of life to Oathbreaker, so if you brought a lot of Commander Legends, already updated your decks, but want to try out a new format, I would say give it a shot. It actually is also really easy to do on Spell Table. It's due to the fact that thanks to the partner mechanic returning, and now that Spell Table has the format of partners, you can actually put your partner, aka your Oathbreaker Planeswalker, and your Oathbreaker spell within the parts where you would put partner, which is actually very, very nifty. So, as stated before, we mostly, to raise money, we rose like over 1,500, I think it was. Like, we raised a lot of cash. Like, they'll probably give a news update later about what's the total, but there was a lot of cash that was raised. And mostly we did this by just playing the Oathbreaker format. I'll post a link down to some of the Twitch streams that I did for it, but it was just fun games. It was actually really fun to play, and it was glorious, some of the plays. Like, I was able to mill some people out, and I was able to win a game by attacking with an army of plant elementals with Kamar's Will, which, yes. Speaking of which, next up is, at the end of the month, or sometime next month, you might notice a graphical overhaul with the Brewing Labs and my Twitch channel in general. That's because a kindly soul, Chris, also known as Kaldhiem Gaming, you can follow him on Twitter, I actually commissioned him to help update kind of like my look for both the YouTube channel as well as my Twitch stream. So if you notice a little bit of a new look by the end of the month, now you know. So that's something to anticipate. Now, speaking of anticipation, as stated before, in a few days we're actually going to be starting with the Kaldhiem spoiler seasons. So we essentially got the cards that were initially spoiled, which were pretty cool to see. There were also some leaks. Now, I'm not going to talk about the leaks. I'm going to wait till they're officially spoiled. I'll get into details why, but at first I kind of thought it would be neat for people who don't want to be spoiled but want to know how the leaks happen. I thought it would be nice to actually bring that up to light. Now, how the leaks happened originally, essentially what happened is it was a printing error on Wizard of the Coast part. Essentially what happened is there was some commander. It sometimes happens when you accidentally get a little bit of a set accidentally stuck into another set. So what happened was that a lot of people were opening like Commander Legends, as stated before. They opened in the collector boosters. Well, some of the collector boosters accidentally, probably due to a printing error, most likely due to a printing error, like 100% probably, we're actually seeing cards that were from the new set that have not been revealed yet. Obviously, a printer error, and most people were just like posting online because they're like, look what I saw. I did not expect this in my collector's pack. I was expecting Commander Legends, not Kaldhiem. So, that's kind of what happened. And if you're also for people who are either new to the content creation or just curious why a lot of content creators, including myself, are kind of being a little bit dodgy about talking about leaks, here's my opinion on leaks in general. I'll just get the quick of it out just to get it out of the way. I think if you see a leak and such, there are ways you can talk about a leak if you want to. Like, if you want to talk with it with a private community or a private, like, forum and such in Discord or whatever your private forum is with everybody who agrees to essentially talk about the leaks, go right ahead. Because it happened, and this one was not, like, intentional malice. It was just an accident, and sometimes accidents happen. I would say for content creators and such, especially those who are new, I would be very, very cautious about talking leaks on Twitter because it is really taboo. And I'll just get into it quick. Like, we'll say this is the Top Deck Fox, like talking about why it's not a good idea to talk about leaks on Twitter. And the main reason why is like I said, I already had a whole Twitter post about this, but to put it shortly, essentially it's this. Twitter is more of a public forum, while mostly what I mentioned before, the methods of how you can talk about leaks with people, they are all in agreement of wanting to talk about the leaks and such, and just essentially want to see what happens. When you put it on Twitter, there's a lot of people who probably are following your Twitter for a variety of reasons, and they probably don't want to be spoiled by leaks. Like, there are some people who intentionally try to avoid spoiler season altogether because they want to be surprised by a set, or they want to go through the pretty much the cycle of preview season and just get the little cards, like previewed by content creators and see kind of like their own shtick on how they preview the card and talk about it. So that's kind of the main reason. It's kind of a way to accidentally spoil some people, and you might give some people kind of a, how do I phrase this? You kind of give them a bad taste in their mouth if they see a card that they don't want to see yet, so to speak, which then could cause a variety of things. I think a lot of people kind of get into this weird greedy mentality, or they get into the mentality that they think for content creators, like, well, why don't you talk about the leaks? That will give you automatically a lot of views and such because you are the first one to talk about the card and such, and that should lead to a lot of views, right? Yes, but I think a lot of people don't realize that that is kind of shooting yourself in the foot in the long term. What do I mean by that? Well, we never, like I said, there's some people who initially want to avoid leaks and such, and when you accidentally give them the distaste of, hey, here's a leaked card on Twitter, boop, that's going to throw some people off. That's going to get a bitter taste in their mouth, and they might mute and block you, which you're like, okay, what's the problem with that? Well, once the spoiler season's all done, and then you start making other content that's not essentially talking about previews and such, then you lose a potential person that would like to watch your content because they blocked you because you posted a leak. So that's why I would say when you're talking about leaks in general, either as a content creator or as a person who is into the hobby, just know the place and know the time. Like, if you talk to it on a public forum where or not a public, in a private forum where everybody agrees, hey, we're going to talk about leaks, okay. On Twitter, though, I would not recommend it. It's kind of like the equivalent of going to a comic book shop and yelling out the spoilers for a Star Wars movie or a popular movie at the time. In the grand scheme of things, it's not that harmful, but you're still kind of being an unintentional or intentional jerk if you do it. So, that's kind of my 2 cents on that. Nevertheless, I am very excited for Kaldhiem. I am really curious to see what's coming. I am going to lead a few kind of like predictions that I thought would be kind of fun to have. some things that I think are going to happen in the set. Prediction 1. Yes, I do think snow is going to return, but I don't think it's going to be snow basic lands. I think we are going to have permanents, the non-land variety that essentially kind of like, your mana dorks, your mana rocks and such, or even your enchantments that allow you to produce snow mana. But I think they're going to be really cautious of not making basic lands do that, because one of the main appeals of the card games is kind of one of those things how you can customize your land base with different art and such. And the problem with Snowlands, as we kind of learned in Eternal formats like Modern and such, when you make a very powerful card that is reliant on a specific basic land archetype that is a subclass, then everybody plays Snowlands. Like, you see this sometimes in Commander, you see this in Modern with the free color snow decks and such, and it kind of takes out the variety of being able to play, kind of like customize your basic lands, and I kind of feel that's kind of, yeah. So I think what they're going to do is if there are going to be lands that are snow, I think it's going to be one, either they're going to be permanents in the game, like either maybe a god or maybe an enchantment and such that's going to make your basics that you already have in your deck in play into snowlands or be able to produce snow mana. Or two, if they do make lands that are snow variety, I think it's not going to be basic lands. I think it's going to be, probably since we've been seeing modal double face cards, they're probably going to make double face cards where essentially it's spell that's related to Kaldhiem here, and then on the other side you produce snow mana. An interesting tap. I feel like that's a way to be fair and such, but if they do go with snow basics and I'm wrong, then just please Wits of the Coast. I know you can't really do this now because the set's already been designed, it's already coming out. I just really, really hope from WotC that if they do bring snow mana back of the basics, don't bring anything like an Archon's Astrolabe in Standard or anything that would make snow a overall dominant meta choice that then it'll make people not be able to customize with their basic lands because they have to play with the snow basics. That's kind of my hope for that. / my prediction. I don't think we're seeing snow basics, but I do think we're going to get snow mana of sorts through other methods of other non-land permanents, or if they do land permanents, it's just going to be flip cards, essentially. That's prediction. I think tribal matter is going to matter a lot. Like, we have seen this through the theme boosters and such. We have seen changelings, giants, angels, warriors, dwarfs. I think you want to keep your eye on the tribal matter shenanigans, because, and not even just for the tribes that are being supported in the set, but remember, we are getting changelings, so I do think that you want to keep your eye on other tribals that are currently in the meta, like the cat dog tribal deck. Hey, changelings can be added to it. Hey, dwarfs. Hey, if you play dwarfs in Historic or dwarfs in Historic Brawl, you probably want to add them to your deck. Giants, etc., etc., etc. Also, but do keep an eye on giants because, yeah, there is a good chance they might actually get some good support, and if they get some really meta-dependent giants and such, then the board wipe that we get from Eldraine and such, / the burn spell that everybody plays, like Bone Crusher Giant, become a lot better, and other giants that have been sprinkled through the sets of Pharaohs and etc., etc., etc. So, just keep an eye on that. So yeah, I think tribal matter synergy is going to matter a lot. My last prediction I'm going to leave off with you before we get started with the spoiler season on the 7th. There is one thing that we know that's coming in the set that's called runes. We know they're going to be borderless cards, and we know they're going to be a specific mechanic within the set. What are they going to be? I'm going to make the prediction that I think runes are going to be either two things. They're either, I know the one thing that both of them are going to be theme based off is, since runes in general are ways that you kind of like customize like your weapons and other games and such, I feel like runes are either going to be ores or kind of like a special enchantment that you can enchant to a artifact. Now, yes, technically flavor-wise, I think it will be most likely equipment, but I can see them trying to make it where it's just an artifact can be enchanted with it, especially since we have stuff like vehicles and such. Now, granted, we had auras in the past that did do this, but what I think is going to happen is either they're going to go into the realm of kind of like a wide enchantment rune, where all your artifacts get this specific effect, kind of like a world enchantment that we have in previous card games or previous even Magic the Gathering sets, or they're going to be like a specific spell where it's like for the rest of the game, your artifacts do this. I'm really curious to see what runes are. That's kind of like my predictions, so I'm really excited. Nevertheless, that is the top deck thoughts for today. Thanks for everybody who joined, and thanks for everybody who was patient of waiting for this variation of the top deck thoughts rather than the old one that was not of best quality. And honestly, I did one of my resolutions this year was actually to try to make better quality videos. So I felt like with that one, with the audio quality being a little bit, yeah, I felt like I should actually improve and actually make a better content video. So I hope you enjoy this top deck thoughts. Hopefully, with a new year, with new shenanigans and new brewing. Speaking of which, I did originally say that Teamer is going to be on the menu for Wayward Guide Beast, but after a little bit more tinkering in the Rabs, I think we're going Gruul with this one. Why? Well, we'll wait and see with the next brewing labs over the weekend, shall we? Nevertheless, I hope you all have a lovely night. This is LevDev, signing out. Bada beep, bada boop.